balance. That's right. I thought about today's topic before we even started. Look at me go. And on that, day 3. Before we start, Arizona iced tea. I've been collecting cans. I'm on like Arizona iced tea now because I'm like, I like the cans a lot. I like the cool. This is the Freddy Fazbear cup from Friday Nights. I messed that up, but it's okay. It is the Friday Night cup. I know Ball. Do you know Ball? Very good though. Southern style. I love sweet tea. I live in the South. Anyways, let's talk about balance today. More specifically, my creative writing and balance. I do creative writing, more so daydreaming. Same thing. I make a story. I've been doing that for a really long time. I love doing it. I'm going to talk about balance through one of my characters named Stark. Now, Stark's whole thing, now for context, the world's filled with gods, ancient gods like JJK, cursed, gods pass down their powers, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, are one of our, like, the main protagonists of, like, of a faction. I haven't named the fact. I don't name a lot of things because they're all in my head. Like, no one talks about them. But Stark's whole thing is that he is the god of balance. Now, for me, there's a lot of different ways to define balance. Balance can be applied to, honestly, probably anything. Maybe. Anyways, balance can probably be applied to mostly anything. I would define balance as probably like, it's really hard to define balance. Like when I was supposed to say like equal. Both sides, if there's multiple sides, all sides are at a standstill. They're at equal points. Stark here, his initial ability is that when he attacks someone and he takes damage, he gets some power back, It's kind of like, I don't know much about Ultra Eco Vegeta, but it's kind of like that power, where, the more damage he takes, the more stronger he gets. He's incredibly strong in the verse. Stark is he's one of the strongest. He's the leader of his faction. He's incredible. However, over time, he evolves his ability, so eventually he can take pain without feeling. He can take the pain, or he can from others, so they can get the stress off, and he can bounce, or he can heal others. He can stop damaging and healing. He can do that balance, yin and yang of pain and healing. Anyways, so through that character, it's obviously within the verse he's an unbalanced character, and the way, because no one really takes him down. He only takes down himself at one point through using an overload of his stored up balance power. All this energy stored up, he threw it into one shot. Boom. He really hasn't lost because he's always getting stronger. So that's just the balance is unbalanced. Let's talk about the government, bro. Not to get too political up in here, but obviously sometimes it's a little unbalanced. Sometimes the rich stay rich, the poor stay poor. Not very balanced. Even though on paper it may be balanced, it's obviously not, because, on paper does not reflect reality. Blah, blah, blah. Pause. Anyways. So, but a lot of his moral dilemma, outside he's a strong, heroic leader, but in the inside, morally, he's stressed. He doesn't really know how to carry himself all the time because he's under a lot of pain because he obviously has to get hurt for his power to work, or now at least he can steal some from his enemies, but of course that makes his enemies stronger. So it's more of a gamble on that one, but he has to be the protector of this country because if all falls around him, it's just done. If he falls, the country falls. That's really, and puts a lot of stress on him. I like writing about that because I like to put a lot of personal problems or like personal experience into the characters because it's easier to make them. Anyways, he suffers from a lot of depression and not anxiety but just tiredness. He's so tired of being this hero because he's always forced to be the one to do something. Like He's forced to be out there. He's forced to fight. He's forced to do all these things, and he likes doing it. He likes being a protector. But when he's the final and only wall between destruction of his country, it's really hard. You know, it weighs a lot on him. Eventually, he just becomes so depressed and bedridden, you know, because he uses all of his power at once at one point. And that just lays so much on him. He's just out of it. But let's get back to balance, anyways. So there's a lot of things in life. I would say mostly everything is unbalanced. Let's talk about, like, I don't know, football. I'm not the biggest with football. But, like, I shouldn't use football as an example. I know nothing. Soccer, you know, football. Let's, like, Atletico and Real. Atletico and Real, obviously, same country. They've won. Atletico's won, but arguably Real is better, at least in my opinion. You know, the system is balanced, but obviously there's some players in there that have more money, more strength, all more influence. You know, balance is not balanced. There is no balance in the world, and I think that's important to know. You can't really let that get to you, because if you know everything's unbalanced, then I think that's a better reality to live in than believing things are balanced. Having this fake reality of believing things are balanced, I don't think that's healthy. In my opinion, you're never going to be truly balanced. You know, there's always going to be something in life to put you down, stress you out, and sure, it's a negative way of looking at it, but in my opinion, it's the truth. You know, there's never going to be a point where, like, everything is okay. I think there's always something. Whether or not you realize it, there's always something. Now, I'm not telling you to get bent out of shape because there's a imbalance at every point in your life. I'm telling you to realize that. In my opinion, this is the one thing I take with me. Always if something is stressing you out, if you can't do something about another thing, if you can't change something, don't stress. You know, why would you stress about something you can't change? There's nothing you can do, which might also seem negative. It does seem negative saying out that loud, but I think that's something really important to carry with you. You know, if there's nothing to worry about, if you can't change something, don't worry about it. Of course, if you have time to worry, if you can change things, stress all the way, worry. You know, get that adrenaline in there. That's imbalance. I think that's an imbalance in life. A balance in life would require you like a perfect life. Everything is balanced. It seems right. And I don't think that exists, unfortunately. I know this is much darker, and I'm not like obviously professor over here. I know everything. No, I don't. I'm a high school student talking to you about my fan fiction. Just kidding, it's not fanfic. But that's really it for this. You know, I think, what's an example I could give of maybe some balance? Scales. You know, if you put two objects, they're balanced. I think physically you can have balanced things, but like not physically, mentally, I don't think there is a balance to mental. Like, you could quote unquote balance, but I don't think there really is, like metaphorically. Maybe I'm just, because I do free ball these, so maybe I'm not thinking straight here. I just think realizing life is unbalanced is important, and you shouldn't put your life down or yourself down because of it. You should know it's not going to be balanced. It's not going to be fair. That's that. There's always going to be a good. There's always going to be an evil. Back to Stark. He understands that he has to be the protector, whether or not he always wants to be. That's what being a hero is. You think Spider-Man, he's like, of course I know, sometimes he's like, I'm tired, but like, really Spider-Man, every time he gets put down, do you think, fuck bro, I'm done? No, he gets his ass back up, and he beats the crap out of Green Goblin, you know? Like, he understands he has a responsibility. And, you know, I think that's where balance comes in. Balance and responsibility. You realize you have a responsibility to do things no matter if you don't want to do those things. There's a balance to life. It's not going to feel balanced. It might feel balanced. I don't think there is a balance. because TS isn't fair. But I know I'm kind of speaking out of my ass right now. That's just my personal thoughts. If you'd like to question me in the comments, go ahead. I would like to respond. This is very good, by the way. Did you know that Arizona iced tea is $1? It's like, of course it's water and sugar, but like, it's pretty good. Although I think we might end that for today. I can't think of anything else I want to talk about because I do have to get to do things today, but at least I'm doing them by day now. Thank you, my rose garden, I don't remember what I called it, rose garden, flower garden. I thank you. Please like, sub, comment, notify, everything under the sun. I really appreciate it. I like communicating with everyone, so please, I'd be happy to. Thank you. We're gonna end it right there. See y'all. I love you. Hope you all have a good rest of your day.